Hello guys, it's Frostley here and welcome back to another video. As you can see from the video, we do have another Jerome Cullen update. Okay, I know you're probably getting sick of these by now, but I just have to tell you what's happened this time. He sent me a text message and all it said was fight me, full stop. Just to fight me and then full stop. He didn't actually say full stop, obviously. But I am worried because this is another escalation. We had the turnip getting it thrown at me last time. Now he's threatening violence against me with a fight. And we did have a few comments ago, someone saying that this could happen at a UFC event. I am worried that that is actually Jerome's plan. I mean, if you look at his first picture with top off, I don't want to fight him. He's like Brock Lesnar, but just a bit shorter. So I'm quite worried. As we normally do, we're just going to get that out of our minds and we're going to focus on the cards. And the first one is headlined by Zabit versus Rodriguez in Mexico. Let's get into it. Before we do get into the card, I just wanted to let you know I do have a Twitter account. If you want to follow it, it's in the description. Just mainly going to be talking about sport, particularly a lot of fighting and nothing too serious. And also, if you want to subscribe, like the video, like you normally do. Thanks for all the support in the last few ones. It's been brilliant. I'll stop the self-promotion now, so let's get straight into the video. We are here for another fight card, and the headline is really exciting. Featherweight fight between Zabit and Rodriguez. This is a division that's got a lot of fascinating prospects coming through, and Zabit and Rodriguez are both two of these. By far the biggest fight on this card, but we've also got Jeremy Stephens fighting. Always puts on a brilliant show against Lamas, who's another experienced name that, again, puts on a lot of good fights. Should be an interesting one. Rest of the card's not particularly strong. Got Amikani on here, reasonably kind of decent European fighter, and quite a lot of Mexican names on there, fighting in their home country, of course. So let's get into it. So first one, we got Michael Trezano against Sergio Giglio. Hope that's right. And Giglio is unbeaten so far in his career, hasn't fought in the UFC yet. From Peru, not too far from Mexico, reasonably close-ish. And then Michael Trezano has lost one and won two in the UFC so far. Both split decision wins though, interestingly. And he has managed to get another win under his belt here in the first round. So Sergio Giglio losing his unbeaten streak as soon as he came in the UFC, and he came in as a favourite as well. So bad luck for him. He is only 23 years of age though. So not the end of the world. Next we got Justin Ledet against Candice Igramov. I always struggle with Russian names. I mean, that's not even a particularly hard one for Russian names, but I still struggle. And he won his last fight, but he lost his previous two. And then Justin Ledet is 3-3, lost his last 3 fights, so he is in desperate need for a win. And he hasn't managed to get it. First round submission, another first round finish. Only just started the card, first two, both of them finishing very quickly. Big win there for Cadis. Next, we've got Alvaro Herrera against Brian Camuzzi. Brian Camuzzi, 7 wins, 5 losses in total. All 3 losses in the UFC. He's all his 3 fights in the UFC. Well, there's some reasonably hard names in there, to be fair. And then Alvaro Herrera has won 1, lost 3, also on a bit of a losing streak. So neither of these guys looking like they will do much in the future, but we'll see. Maybe they can pick it up. But Camuzzi gets the win here via split decision, so a close fight between 2 fighters that were struggling anyway. I think that's Herrera cut from the UFC, unfortunately for him. And he has managed to do it in his hometown. Not his hometown, same country. Next, we got Martin Day against Jose Quinones. Jose Quinones came off a fight against Sean O'Malley. I remember that fight. And he lost quite kind of comfortable loss. But other than that, he's had quite a lot of fights in the UFC. And quite a few wins, to be fair. 5 wins, 3 losses, so not doing too bad. He started off very young in his career in terms of amount of fights he's had in the UFC. And Day has just had 1 fight in the UFC so far and lost it. And Quinones gets the win. Fight rate is great, unanimous decision win. Seemed like a reasonably comfortable win there for Quinones, and he came in as the favourite. And that is sending getting the home crowd pumped up a bit, hopefully, after a few losses for the Mexican fighters. So here we got Enrique Brunoes, who he is 40 years of age, and you can kind of tell from that photo. No offence to him. I'm sure he's not watching, but I'm going to say no offence anyway. And 1 win, 3 losses so far. He fought Cody Garbrandt, interestingly, but that was quite a long time ago. And he hasn't fought for about 2 years. And he's fighting against Chris Gutierrez, who is 2 wins, 1 loss in the UFC so far. Gutierrez is a pretty big favourite. And Gutierrez gets the win. Fight rate is fantastic, which is brilliant. TKO win for Gutierrez. That is a really big win for him. Interesting to see if he still wants to come. No, he is retiring. I thought he might. When they're that old and he's struggling, hasn't managed to fight this very much anyway. So we have seen a retirement. At least he's done it in the same country. It's nice to see. And Gutierrez put on a really good fight, so he must be delighted with that. Next up, we got Maurice Green against Philip Lins, and Green is 3 wins, 3 losses in the UFC so far. Last 3 fights were losses. He has 2 really tough fights there, actually. They're both kind of decent fighters, but he still needs a win desperately to stop that streak. And then Lins is coming from the PFL, and he's been doing really well at the PFL actually, and has won his last 4 fights. So this is his debut in the UFC. Let's see how he gets on. He does not manage to get the win. He's knocked out in the first round by Maurice Green. Huge win for Maurice Green. And he is a huge person. So huge win for a huge person. 6'7". Bloody hell. Well, so that's an impressive win for him. Not good start to UFC life for Lins. And now we're getting into the main card. We've got Brandon Moreno against Rodrigo Bontorin. Moreno's a decent prospect, only 26 years of age. Pretty good record so far in the UFC. Won his last 2 fights, so he'll be looking to add to that. And he's against another fighter who's reasonably young, 29 years of age. I see reasonably young, but not really. Kind of in the middle of his career. He's 2 wins, 1 loss, coming off a loss against Ray Borg. See how this one goes. And Moreno gets the win. The fighter's rated is good. Really good to see the Mexican fighter and the younger fighter getting that win there. I think Moreno's got potential to do decent in his division, but we'll see how it goes. He's on a 3 fight win streak now, which is good. He's a very good talker apparently, which is nice to add to it. Next we've got Alexa Grasso against Cynthia Carvalho, probably not Valio. And strawweight fighter who drew her last fight, but really good record actually overall. Beat Joan Calderwood. Only loss so far in the UFC is against Carlo Esparza, which is nothing to be ashamed of. And then Alexa Grasso, 3 wins, 3 losses. Also lost to Carlo Esparza in her last fight. So let's see how this one goes. Alexa Grasso gets the win, and that is a huge win for her career actually. A reasonably young fighter as well. Gets a unanimous decision win. Fight rate is good. And another Mexican fighter getting the win. So 2 in a row on the main card. Now we've got Gabriel Benitez against Makwan Amikani. I feel like I smashed that pronunciation with him. I practiced it before I started, so that's the key. Amikani is a Finnish fighter. 5 wins, 2 losses in the UFC so far. He has actually done really well, really. It's just those 2 kind of bigger names in the division he's not quite managed to beat. These 2, they're both top 15 fighters, Shane Burgos and Arnold Allen. So he's definitely a fighter to watch. He's against Gabriel Benitez, who's another Mexican fighter on the card. Recently lost to Sadiq Youssef, who's a big prospect coming through. So be interesting to see how he gets on. Big favourite though, Amikani. But Benitez has managed to get the upset win, and that is the 3rd fight in a row that a Mexican fighter has won. Hometown fighters winning a lot at the moment, which is good for the crowd. Not so good for Amikani. Yep, it is what it is. Let's move on, and now we're getting into the real fights. We've got Jeremy Stephens, the real exciting fights. Jeremy Stephens against Ricardo Lamas. This would be a great fight in real life. Jeremy Stephens, to be fair, every fight he's in is a good fight pretty much. He is coming on to kind of like the tail end of his career because he's been about for so long. He is only 34, but in terms of like his body age, it's much older. And as you can see, last 4 fights, he's not won any of them. I mean, that no contest against Yair Rodriguez you could maybe not count because it was a bit of a... it ended really quickly via, I think it was like an eye poke or something like that. I can't remember exactly. And then Ricardo Lamas is kind of similar to Jeremy Stephens in a lot of ways. Kind of never quite got the title, been around the top 15, or always been in the top 15 pretty much since he started in the UFC. Maybe Lamas a little bit kind of a step down, maybe slightly, but pretty similar. He did have that title shot a while ago, quite a long while ago. And let's see how this one goes. Jeremy Stephens gets the win. Fight rated is good. Not a bad way to get it kicked off into the main event. Now this one is one I'm really looking forward to seeing. Zabit versus Rodriguez. Both of these guys extremely exciting to watch. Extremely kind of, I think eccentric's probably the right word. They just have some really interesting interesting strikes in their, not just strikes, actually submissions as well in their repertoire, particularly Zabit with submissions. But Yair Rodriguez had that really amazing knockout win against the Korean Zombie out of nowhere, right in the last second. Watch it if you haven't already. It's incredible. And other than that, he has an untainted record apart from that Frankie Edgar loss where he did lose by a stoppage. I mean, the Jeremy Stephens, like I said, that was a bit of a, you can't really count that as a tainting on the record. And then Zabit, just been incredible since he came in. Such an interesting fighter to watch. He's just like, kind of, it's not really, it got similarities to the way Anderson Silva came in with the intrigue early on in his UFC, Anderson Silva's career, in terms of just he was unique in the way he moved and stuff. I wouldn't say Zabit is similar to him in the way he moves, but similar in the sense that he is very interesting and just different to anything anyone's seen, and definitely a really big prospect. And also 6'1" in the featherweight division is pretty unique as well. So he's got a lot. That reach advantage is a pretty big advantage a lot of the time, and he comes in as quite a big favourite actually. Rodriguez gets the big cheer as you'd expect. Rodriguez initiates an exchange of strikes. Zabit fires off a counter jab. Rodriguez can't connect with his set-up strikes, but he lands a right hand. Both fighters meet in the centre. A feint brought entirely by Rodriguez, leaving him wide open. Rodriguez misses a right hook and leaves himself open to be countered with a right cross. Both fighters come together. Rodriguez scores with a spin kick to the ribs. Zabit hits a left jab and also scores with some spin kicks to the ribs. And there's a takedown attempt from Zabit. And Zabit manages to, he can't complete the takedown, but he's managed to grab his leg and drives him up against the cage. And now Rodriguez is using his wrestling skills to stop him, Zabit progressing at all. Rodriguez lands a few quick punches. Rodriguez gets caught with a knee inside the thigh. Zabit goes for a knee to the thigh, but Rodriguez wrestles free and circles back to the centre. Both fighters meet in the centre. Rodriguez is off target and with a jab, but lands a spin kick. Zabit scores with a stinging right high kick, and it's a big strike. That Rodriguez is already unsteady. We're only two and a half minutes into the fight, and he retreats, tries to cover up, and he's against the cage with nowhere to go. Rodriguez eats a right hook and is barely able to stand anymore. The cage is the only reason he's still upright, and we're moving to the after round apparently. Rodriguez gets caught with a flying knee now, and he doesn't get knocked out, and Zabit has knocked him down completely now, sending Rodriguez down to the canvas, and Zabit is moving in quickly with a bit of ground and pound, more big strikes going in, and the ref has stepped in. Humongous win for Zabit, not normally known for his knockout power so far in his career, but he has knocked out Rodriguez in the first round. Seemed like it took a few strikes, which makes sense. He's not exactly a one-hit power kind of knockout puncher, but he is incredibly technically. We had a knee in there. I think there was an elbow. It was interesting. Kind of ended the fight, but really dominant win. And Zabit has got to be right up there for a title shot. I think it is a really talented division, so it's difficult to conclusively give it to him. But I mean, he's another one of the really exciting Russian fighters coming through. So next up, we have a classic wrestler versus striker matchup with Stephen Thompson versus Colby Covington. Let's get right into that card now, and I'll see you there. We are in South Carolina for another really exciting card. Headline is brilliant, but also on the co-main event we've got Damian Maia versus Nico Price, Nick Lentz versus Anthony Pettis, also on the card, and then Pedro Munoz versus Jimmy Rivera. This is absolutely stacked for a fight night card. Maybe put a few too many big names on there, really, in hindsight. But it leaves it being a good card, so I can't really complain too much. Also, Macy Barber on the card there, an exciting prospect. So let's see how they get on. So first fight, we have got Grant Dawson versus Martin Bushkamp. Martin Bushkamp doesn't have a photo, which is annoying. I should have put that on there. But he has no fights in the UFC so far, whereas Grant Dawson has 3 fights in the UFC so far and won all 3. So Grant Dawson is coming in as a favourite and probably would expect him to win it, but let's see if he does. He does get the win. So Grant Dawson gets the win there. Only 26 years of age, 4 wins so far in his first 4 fights. Definitely an exciting prospect there. Next up, we got Jamal Emmers versus Eduardo Garagori. And Emmers is 1 loss in the UFC so far. He's only had 1 fight. It was a split decision. He's against Garagori, who's 1 win, 1 loss. Last fight was a loss. Let's see how they get on. Emmers gets the win. Fight rated as good. Next up, we got Andre Ewell against Mario Batista. Mario Batista has 2 wins, 1 loss in the UFC so far. And that was not an easy fight against Corey Sandhagen. So, yeah, so he's nothing to be ashamed of losing there. Against Andre Ewell, who is 3 wins, 4 losses. Last fight was against Jack Shaw, where he got the loss. So, yeah, let's see how these guys get on. Hopefully Batista gets it because he looks like an interesting prospect. He doesn't though, unfortunately. And it's a split decision, really close fight, but only rated as decent. And the more experienced Andre Ewell does get the win. Next up, we've got Lando Venata against Christos Giagos. And Giagos is 3 wins, 4 losses. So reasonable experience in the UFC so far, but never really took off, just been okay. He's against a Mexican fighter who has also had quite a few fights in the UFC. And last couple he has won after kind of mostly wins and losses about even. And Venata gets the win here with a really, really big win with a TKO in the first round. That's a massive win for him. Next up, we got Caitlin. I can never remember how to pronounce this. I'm just going to call her Caitlin against Matana De La Rosa. And Caitlin is 6 wins, 3 losses in the UFC so far. Last fight was that loss against Shevchenko. It's quite a convincing loss for the most part. But she still can make her way back up. She's one of the best fighters in this division still. Win here would put her back up into contention. She's against a fighter who is definitely another one that could be in contention, especially if they win this fight. Just lost against Andrea Lee. Other than that, won all their fights in the UFC so far. Let's see how it goes. And De La Rosa does get the win. Fight rated as average. Submission in the 3rd round. That's good in terms of bringing through new prospects. Only 25 years of age. So good for her. And then we have got another good women's fight coming up. And this is another, as I said, Macy Barber, big prospect against Jennifer Maia, who's a much more experienced fighter. Macy Barber, I believe I've had her. She's dropping weight. She normally fights at bantamweight. She's fighting at flyweight in this fight. I'm just checking. She does normally fight at bantamweight. Does it tell me here? It was a flyweight. Nope, I don't know why I thought that. Okay, so she normally fights at flyweight. So she's fighting at flyweight. And she won her last fight, but she did lose her one before that. So this will be getting some momentum if she does beat Jennifer Maia, who is 2 wins, 2 losses. Fair few fights outside the UFC as well. So let's see how this one goes. Macy Barber does get the win, and it's a knockout via kick in the 1st round. Huge win. And at 22 years old, sky's the limit with her. Maybe need to do that rematch against Madafri at some point. Not sure, but she needs a bigger test next because she's managed to dispatch Maia quite easily, really. And Maia has decided to retire, which is fair enough. She's not that old. Oh, sorry about that clicking sound. But she's not that old. She's about 36. But she's decided to retire, which is interesting. And Macy Barber, that charismatic talker, which is even better about her being a prospect. She's got that level of marketability to her. Got Ryan Spann, who's 4 wins, 0 losses in the UFC so far. Coming off a huge win against Guillaume Valente with a 1st round knockout win. And he's fighting against Michael. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name. And he is doing decent. Won his last fight, but before that lost his last couple before that. Both these guys What's he ranked? He's ranked 11th in the UFC, and Ryan Spann is ranked 16th in the UFC. So see if they manage to work their way up, and Ryan Spann does manage to. So he's getting right near the top 10 now. Ryan Spann wins with a big win in the third round, TKO, rated as great. Brilliant way to start off the main card. This is really a stacked card, isn't it? That was another big fight. And now we've got Pedro Munoz, who's coming off. He was going to fight originally Frankie Edgar, but got injured. And now he's come in about a few months later after that fight would have taken place. And he's against Jimmy Rivera, who's not an easy fight at all. Jimmy Rivera, experienced fighter, had a little bit of a tough time of it recently, although a lot of these are top fighters. And Pedro Munoz, of course, had that win against Cody Garbrandt, quite a famous one. Cody Garbrandt just kind of went a bit nuts and just started swinging. Pedro Munoz caught him, knocked him out, but he did lose his last fight against Sterling. Let's see how this one goes. Rivera gets the win. Fight rated is decent. Majority decision, so it was a close fight. Okay, so now we're into Nick Lentz against Pettis. Both of these guys, lots of fights in the UFC. Been around for a long time. Lentz has struggled last couple of fights. Pettis also lost his last couple. Both good fighters though, particularly Nate Diaz, of course, and kind of normally fights real top opposition. Lentz maybe a step down to what he's used to, but hopefully he gets a win under his belt, and he does. He gets that win in the first round, dispatches him simply. Probably tells me don't book him against Nick Lentz in future. Book him against kind of a top 10 opposition most of the time, because he's capable of doing that. And still only 33. Next up, we've got Damian Maia versus Nico Price. And Damian Maia, of course, really famous jiu-jitsu expert. Everyone who follows UFC knows about him. Has had a couple of title shots in his career, and he is coming a loss against Gilbert Burns, though, and Nico Price, who recently had what was in real life a ridiculously good fight. But he just keeps pushing forward, Nico Price. But in the game, he's managed to beat Gunnar Nelson in his last fight, and then James Vick before that, so he's on a really good little run here. And if he beats Damian Maia, that's going to be huge momentum going forward. And he does manage to get that win. So Nico Price looking like he's really going to start competing in this division with another win. So potential welterweight prospect in Nico Price. Fight rate is good. Unanimous decision win. And Damian Maia has decided to retire, which is fair enough. He's 43. Not really much anywhere to go since he's lost that fight against Nico Price. Next up we have Colby Covington versus Stephen Thompson. It is the main event. Look how young these both look here. Both look much older now, particularly Stephen Thompson. We have Covington coming as a strong favourite, actually, interestingly, and has lost his last fight against Usman, of course, for the title. Before that, a number of big wins against top opposition, really. Just grinds them down, really good wrestler. And I think that's probably why he's a big favourite, is because he is against Stephen Thompson, who is a brilliant striker, but maybe not favoured quite as much in the wrestling department, and a lot of people expect him not to be able to deal with that. Stephen Thompson's last few fights have not been brilliant. Had Darren Till beat him. That was a close fight, to be fair. Debatable whether he did lose that. And then Anthony Pettis was a devastating knockout loss, but he did beat Vincent Luque last fight, which was a huge win, really, because Vincent Luque, as we saw, he is a talent, so it is a big win. But let's see how this one goes. So Thompson's getting a big cheer in front of his home crowd in South Carolina, and the fighters touch gloves. Covington looked like he was going to step in and grapple, but Thompson took the initiative first. Thompson can't set up a left jab, but then hits a body kick. Covington steps in, seemingly willing to strike if it means getting close enough to wrestle. Thompson connects with a nice jab and then scores with a right hook cross that lands. Thompson can't set up a left jab, but then hits a nice straight right. Covington gets hold of Thompson without taking too much damage. Covington takes Thompson with a big knee strike to the body from the grapple. Covington is trying to push Thompson so that his back is up against the cage. Thompson doesn't let him get driven back, and Thompson looks to sweep a leg out from Covington. Has to take him down with a trip. Okay, So we got Thompson going for the takedown. It was unsuccessful. Thompson's trying to take him down again. This is just not what you would expect. It's a fail. Again, unsurprisingly really. And then Covington is looking to muscle Thompson back against the cage. Thompson ends up back against the cage. Covington looks to try and maintain control via his wrestling skills, but Thompson works out enough space that he can pull clear and circle out. We're now into the halfway point. A jab hits home from Thompson, and then he hits a body kick with Covington. Then he hits Covington with a body kick. Covington wants to grapple and appears to be coming in. Thompson throws a quick 1-2, but doesn't land either. A clear opportunity. Covington's able to move in and clinch with Thompson. Using his wrestling skills, Covington is trying to push Thompson up against the cage. He manages to, and now Thompson's smothered against the cage. They remain there for a minute, and Covington looks to try and maintain control via his wrestling, but Thompson manages to pull clear. Thompson confidently moves in closer, looking to throw some strikes. Covington looks like he was going to shoot, but Thompson took the initiative first, and then he catches Covington with a stunning right hook. Covington is knocked down, and Thompson is pounding away punches. We've got 6 seconds left in the round, and round 1 is brought down to the end, right at the end of what was a really exciting end there, because we have Stephen Thompson nearly finishing Covington. So a bit of drama there, and definitely won Thompson the round. It's interesting to see Thompson taking down Covington. I'm not sure what's going on there, or trying to take him down. He didn't manage to, but when he's striking, it's clearly he's got that advantage when he's striking, and it showed there. So Thompson closes in on Covington, looking to unleash some strikes. It looked like we were about to see a shot from Covington, but Thompson was more aggressive and took the initiative. A jab is wide from Thompson, and then he lands a low kick to the legs. Thompson lands a left kick, and then nice straight right that lands hard. Thompson hits a left jab, and then hits Covington with a straight right. Covington not getting any of this striking battle at all. Thompson steps in and looks to unleash. A jab is wide from Thompson, but then he hits a skifing kick to the legs of Covington. Should not say that. That's how you say it, skifing. Sieving. It's sieving, isn't it? See, I didn't listen in English clearly. Sieving. Covington comes in and looking for a takedown. The takedown is successful. It's a single leg that leaves Thompson pulling guard. It's a big takedown for Covington then. Covington smothers Thompson. Covington fires some shots off. Thompson looks like his legs to try and push Covington back, but tries to scramble for position. Covington is too quick. And now Covington's trying to get into a submission for Thompson in an arm triangle. Thompson stops him from applying it. Covington blocks Thompson as he tries to transition to guard. Covington fires a handful of punches. Thompson's trying to transition again. Now Covington's going into the submission with Kimura, but he's failed. And Thompson tries to move guard. We've got Covington going for an arm triangle now. Thompson doesn't allow it. And then Thompson's continuing to try and move away. We're getting some Colby doing a little bit of ground and pound. But Thompson has apparently just managed to edge that. And now Thompson is up 2 on the card, so the reasonably big underdog is ahead on the card. Covington steps in, seemingly willing to take strikes, but it means wrestling. Thompson fails to land home with a jab, but then hits with a body kick without taking too much damage. Covington is able to clinch with Thompson. Using his wrestling skills, Covington is trying to push Thompson up against the cage. Thompson's backed up against the cage. Thompson is trapped up against the cage now. And the grueling grappling contest continues. Thompson throws a few short punches to the ribs. Covington presses Thompson up against the cage. They spend the next minute in that position. They continue stuck, and the referees separated them. Thompson is beginning to tire now, and there's a taken down attempt from Covington, which is set up well, and Thompson has to pull guard because he has been taken down. Covington is smothering Thompson. In guard, Covington throws a couple of punches. Covington feels Thompson is prepared to scramble, but stops him. Covington tries to pound away on Thompson. He's managed to deal with it. Thompson bursts into life and scramble for a better position. Covington seizes the opportunity, but nothing much happens. And Covington gets that round. I think that takedown manages to secure that one. And Thompson hits a left jab and then catches Covington with a right hook. Covington appeared to go for a takedown, but Thompson took the initiative first. Thompson connects for a jab, but Covington steps back to avoid a right to the body. Taking a few gulps of breath, Covington is given the first hint that he's starting to tire a touch. Thompson throws a 2-punch combo, but Covington avoids both. Covington moves in fast and clinches with Thompson. Using his wrestling skills, Covington is trying to push Thompson up against the cage. Covington can't move Thompson at all though, and finds himself being out-wrestled. Thompson looks for the trip takedown. Thompson can't get the takedown down. Thompson's looking for another takedown, and Covington blocks the attempt again. Thompson ends up being out-wrestled and Covington takes control. Covington is looking to out-muscle Thompson again, and he's trying to keep him up against the cage. Thompson's struggling a bit. The jab lands from Thompson, but finds nothing with air. Without taking too much damage, Covington is able to clinch, and he gets underhooked. Covington's gone for the takedown, and he's managed to get that takedown. And in guard, Covington is pounding away a little bit, and Thompson tries to break free, but Covington keeps him in his control. Thompson is controlling the guard, unable to shift Covington out of the way. Covington begins to pass the side control. He passes guard, but Thompson is ready to scramble, and a battle position ensues. Thompson ends up with having to pull guard, losing out the scramble, and then Covington smothers Thompson, and it's round 4 over, and that's another win for Covington. So it looks like it is even into this final round. Thompson looks like he's tiring though, so we definitely think Covington has got to be favourite coming into this round now. Covington, wanting to grapple, comes forward. He appears to be willing to take a few shots to close the distance. Thompson can't connect with a jab, but then hits with a right cross. Without taking too much damage, Covington is able to clinch with Thompson. Covington is trying to out-muscle Thompson against the cage. Covington manages it and controls Thompson up against the cage. Thompson is pressed up against the cage and held there. They spend the next minute and a half. Thompson's very tired now. Covington passes Thompson into the cage, forcing him to carry all his weight. They dirty box for a bit. Covington tries to maintain control, but Thompson manages to get out of the way, and now he's in the centre. Covington is starting to have to push himself now, and is in the corner's edge a little louder. Moving around, Covington is looking to opening to shoot without exposing himself to a counter strike. Thompson can't set up a left kick, but then hits Covington with a kick to the body. A jab hits home from Thompson, and then he scores with a roundhouse kick to the ribs. Thompson moves in closer, looking to get close in to grapple, and it looked like we're about to see Covington trying to see some grappling, get some grappling started, but Thompson was more aggressive and took the initiative. Thompson connects with a nice jab, and then scores with a leg kick. Covington chooses to go for the takedown and gets the takedown. That's a huge takedown for Covington, potentially fight winning. Now Covington's potentially just kind of see out the round by the looks of it, and Covington seizes the opportunity and now pounding away on Thompson, but none of the blows land, and we are at the end of the round. Covington apparently won that. Let's see what the scores are. Seemed like a pretty tight fight. Thompson getting that knockdown on early in the fight, but then Covington dominating with his wrestling later on. Thompson getting tired, struggling to deal with it. Let's see how it goes on. All 3 judges scored 48-47 to Colby Chaos Covington. Big win for Covington. Maybe predictable. That wrestling is just really difficult to deal with, and Thompson's just not got the takedown defense to deal with it. Clearly, especially when he's getting tired late on, he was outstriking him early on, but struggled later on. And big win for Covington to rebound after that loss in the title. So he's getting right back into the title picture. So really, really good card, really exciting card. We are going to finish today, guys. We do have Amanda Nunes versus Felicia Spencer headlining the next card. It's a card in Brazil. Lots of other interesting Brazilian fighters on the card as well. So I'll see you for the next one. Subscribe, like, do all that good stuff. Have a good one.